I'm often asked why those executed in Tudor times, like Queen Anne Boleyn, didn't use their final moments to proclaim their innocence or condemn those who'd wronged them. Instead, they praised the monarch who'd sent them to their deaths. Why? Were they forced? Were their words scripted for them? Or was there something deeper at play? Today, I want to explore the ritual and significance of execution speeches in the medieval and Tudor eras, using some well-documented examples. Let's start with Anne Boleyn. On the 19th of May 1536, she delivered her execution speech at the Tower of London. We have two accounts of her words. Chronicler Edward Hall recorded, "Good Christian people, I am come hither to die, for according to the law and by the law I am judged to die, and therefore I will speak nothing against it. I pray God save the king and send him long to reign over you, for a gentler nor a more merciful prince was there never. I heartily desire you all to pray for me. O Lord, have mercy on me. To God I commend my soul." And Charles Risley's version was similar. "I beseech Jesus, save my sovereign and master the king, the most godly, noble and gentle prince that is, and long to reign over you." Breaking Anne's speech down, we see key elements. An acknowledgement that she'd been condemned by the law, praise and prayers for the monarch, a request for prayer and God's mercy, a calm and dignified tone. Even her brother George Boleyn, Lord Rochford, executed 2 days earlier, followed a similar pattern. His speech was longer, incorporating a sermon-like reflection on sin, but still included an acceptance of the law's judgment, a plea for God's mercy, a request for forgiveness and prayers from those present, and prayers for the king. William Brereton, executed alongside George, simply said, "I have deserved to die if it were 1,000 deaths, but the cause wherefore I die, judge not, but if ye judge, judge the best." And fast forward to 1554, and we see the same structure in Lady Jane Grey's final words. "Good people, I am come hither to die, and by a law I am condemned to the same. But touching the procurement and desire thereof by me or on my behalf, I do wash my hands thereof in innocence before God." This speech closely resembles Anne Boleyn's speech, acknowledging the law's judgment, addressing the crowd, and expressing faith. So why did all these people follow a similar pattern? Historian Jennifer Lillian Lodine Chaffrey explains that just as a natural death had set rituals, expressing sorrow, making amends, seeking forgiveness and praying, executions had their own script. A good execution speech needed to 1. Attest to the power of the state, 2. Show the divine justice of the person's death, 3. Demonstrate the condemned's personal dignity and faith. And beheading itself was symbolic. Blood was seen as purifying, a form of redemption for the victim's sins. The scaffold, confession and request for prayers were essential steps to ensure a good death. Public executions weren't just about punishment. They were a performance. The condemned person's last words were recorded, discussed and scrutinised. A noble person especially would be acutely aware that their final moments could define their legacy. Historian Lacey Baldwin Smith suggests there was even more control over these speeches. Some statements were possibly pre-approved by the authorities to reinforce the monarch's legitimacy. After all, 16th century society revolved around absolute obedience to the sovereign, God's anointed ruler. Praising the monarch at the moment of death was the ultimate expression of submission. So what made a good execution speech? A calm and dignified demeanour, acknowledgement of the spectators and the reason for being there, acceptance of the law's judgment, a confession not necessarily of the crime, but of general sinfulness, original sin, a warning to others to learn from their fate, a request for prayers and forgiveness, prayers for the monarch, and an expression of faith. We even see concern for how one died. Queen Catherine Howard, before her execution, reportedly requested the block so that she could practice placing her head correctly. She wanted to ensure that she died with dignity, that she died in the right way. And this is why I get frustrated with TV portrayals like the Tudors series, which show Catherine Howard losing control, crying out that she died a queen but wished she'd been Culpeper's wife. The historical record tells a different story. She composed herself and followed the expected pattern of a noble execution. So why did people like Anne Boleyn, George Boleyn, Lady Jane Grey praise the monarch instead of condemning them? Well, it wasn't about fear or coercion alone. It was about cultural expectations, religious beliefs, and the deep-rooted idea that obedience to the monarch was obedience to God. Their execution speeches weren't spontaneous. They followed a structure, a script for a good death, ensuring their souls were prepared for death and their family's honour was intact. But what do you think? Would you have followed the tradition, or would you have spoken out? Do let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into Tudor execution rituals, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating history. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.